Okay. Hi, viewers and listeners. May I take this humble opportunity to talk about the most guarded secrets about our own lives. The secrets that enabled our forefathers and mothers to live for so many years without getting ill, simply because they had understood them properly, something that gave them advantage of living smooth lives free of diseases. Even as nowadays, we are obliged to employ those basic guarded secrets in our own lives in order even for us to live for so many years without getting ill. So basically, that is the bottom line topic that I'm about to talk into detail, with the aim of enriching you with the knowledge that is going to enable you to live smooth lives. So while trying to conduct this analysis, I came to realize that in order for any human being to live for so many years without getting ill, then he or she must be ready to observe nutritional discipline, because that is one of the most paramount aspects of life that can determine the number of years one is supposed to live in this universe. So the very moment you observe that discipline, be assured of leading smooth lives free of diseases. And actually, that is what used to be there during those olden days when our forefathers and mothers could live for so many years without getting ill. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is what we call nutrition. Nutrition is the main anchorage of our own lives. You've been seeing people, especially women, trying to modify their own bodies using several complicated medical supplements that they have been buying from pharmacies in order for them to beautify their own bodies without knowing that even natural supplements that are readily available can perform even better than those artificial beautifying agents they have been buying from pharmaceutical joints. Many people have been running to pharmacies to buy artificial processed medicines in the event they realize that they are not feeling well, without knowing that the free plants, growing plants you've been seeing around, most of them have got strong medicinal properties that can equally cure diseases in our own bodies. So I'm talking about this information because I know many of us could be lacking knowledge on how we are supposed to go about this system. So I'm going to take you through a session where I'm going to talk about what we are supposed to do in order for us to prolong our own lives free of diseases. During those olden days, for those of you who are keen, you will agree with me that we never used to have several diseases unlike nowadays. And while trying to conduct this analysis, we came to realize that most of them are brought about the foods we've been taking without observing nutritional discipline. So a disease like cancer, for example, to be specific, used to be a generic disease, a disease that we used to acquire from our own families. But of nowadays, cancer has become a disease like any other, simply because we've been getting it right from the foods we've been taking. It must be registered in your own minds that if there is something that can take you or can send you to the grave within a shortest time possible, then it is indiscipline in nutrition. Once you become indisciplined, then be assured your life to come to an end within a very short time. That is why it is very important and necessary for us to observe the highest discipline, more especially when it comes to nutrition. By doing so, then we are going to prolong our lives in this universe. There are some kind of foods you've been seeing around being sold in groceries without realizing that most of them are poisonous. They have some poisonous agents that once taken into our own bodies, they are capable of destroying the normal operations of our own bodies. That is why I want to take this opportunity to warn you to be aware about these foods. I understand you've been seeing people storing food in bulk inside fridges and freezers. These foods, once stored, they create a conducive environment of toxins that are going to destroy bodies of human beings, more especially when they will be taken as food. So in order for us to be at a position of living smooth lives, then we must be able and ready to observe discipline of the highest standard when it comes to selecting the type of foods we are supposed to take to our own bodies. So it is recommended that while trying to select the kind of foods you are supposed to eat, it is important for you to apply the principle of simplicity, whereby you are only supposed to go for those foods that are fresh in nature, in their natural state. Those are the kind of foods that are valuable to your own bodies. So we are not supposed to go for those foods that have been kept in freezers and fridges simply because they contain some dangerous toxins that can harbor the formation of cancer cells inside our own bodies. So when you try to find the kind of foods you are supposed to prepare for your family, this is part of the basic principle that you are supposed to underline in order for you to realize the dream of living for several years without getting ill. Another thing that we need to observe in respect to nutrition is what we call a balanced diet. A balanced diet is the only one that will determine the kind of life each one of us is supposed to live. So once we become disciplined in this area, then we shall be at a position of prolonging our own lives. So when we talk about a balanced diet, it involves three fundamental nutrients that are vital to our own bodies. The first of those fundamental nutrients is what we call carbohydrates, the ones that are supposed to give us energy, the ones that are responsible in building our own bodies. And we usually get carbohydrates from foods like potatoes, maize flour, etc., etc. The other number two principle of nutrition under balanced diet is what we call proteins. Proteins is also one of the fundamental nutrients that is responsible in building tissues of the body, and we usually get them from animal products and some selected cereals. So the last nutrient under the balanced diet that is also important to our bodies is what we call vitamins. Vitamins are also very important to our own bodies because they are the ones that boosts our own immunity. And we usually get this kind of nutrients from vegetables and fruits. So it is recommended that while taking our own meals, we are supposed to make sure that the meal we are taking at a time comprises of all these basic nutrients in order to enable the body to be able to function well the way it is supposed to be. Those are the basic principles that were used to be observed by our forefathers, something that enabled them to lead smooth lives. So besides observing nutrition, we must be aware that there were some few diseases that used to exist during that time. And during those heydays, we never used to have pharmaceutical companies, the ones that have been manufacturing artificial medicines that were supposed to be taken by people, more especially when they fell sick. So what did they use in the event one of them fell sick? They used to administer their own lives using some selected herbal plants. And for those of you who are keen enough, I think if you've been watching around our own flower beds, You have had the opportunity of seeing some other complicated plants, some of them looking beautiful, without knowing that they contain some strong medicinal properties that used to help our forefathers and mothers in the event they fall sick. So even pharmaceutical factories that have been manufacturing artificial medicines, most of them use these plants as their raw materials. But what becomes very funny about the processed medicines, there are some additives that are used which can have some adverse effects on our own bodies, more especially once they are taken into our own bodies. So I'm going to take you through a brief session about some of the common medicinal plants you've been seeing around without you knowing. I'm going to talk about the two of them. So we have several plants that were used by our forefathers and mothers as medicine, and we cannot talk about all of them at this moment. So I have thought it wise to talk about two of them, and we shall be talking about the others in our subsequent bulletins, where we are going to brief you in details on how you are supposed to use them. So the first medicinal plant that you've been seeing on our flower beds that I want to talk about is what we call the rosemary. It is a weed, as you can see on the screen, that has been getting circulated around by people. Some have been planting it as a flower without knowing that it is a medicine. So this is one of the magic plants that can save the life of somebody. So what are the parts of this plant that are used as medicine? It is the leaves that are used as medicine. And how do we use those leaves? We simply pluck or prune those matured leaves of this rosemary plant, and we are supposed to air dry them. And once we have air dried them, we are supposed to grind them in order to make a powder out of them. And it is only this powder that is going to act as medicine. You are not supposed to dry these leaves on direct sunlight. If you try to do so, then you will destroy the medicinal properties of that magic plant. And once it will be taken by somebody who is feeling unwell, instead of it healing the guy or an individual having a problem, it will tend to worsen the situation. That is why, in order to preserve those strong medicinal properties that it has, we are supposed to air dry it somewhere where there is no sunlight, direct sunlight. So when somebody is having headache, being part of the pains that a body experiences, this is the kind of medicine you are recommended to use. It is natural in nature. It doesn't have some adverse effects once it is taken. It acts instantly, provided you take it the way it is supposed to. Now, how are we supposed to prepare this medicine? As I have said earlier, if somebody is having headache, for example, you are supposed to boil a cup of water, and once that water has boiled, then you are supposed to pour that water into a cup, and then bring a tablespoonful of that powder that you prepared out of the rosemary leaves. Put it inside that cup containing the hot water. In so doing, now you shall have made a concoction that has some pain relieving agents. It is this concoction, once taken by somebody who is having, for example, headache, that is going to suppress that pain, simply because it has some strong pain relieving agents that are capable of suppressing any form of pain inside our own bodies. So it is said that before taking that concoction, as I had said earlier, you are supposed to give it time to dissolve. And by the time you will wait it to dissolve, you are supposed to close that cup, either using a lid, in order to make those pain relieving agents to dissolve in water fully. That is the time you will realize that rosemary is one of the strongest relieving agent that is natural in nature that we have around, that one is not supposed to spend money in order for him or her to acquire. So the second medicinal plant that I'm going to talk about is what we call the aloe vera. Aloe vera, it is a desert plant that you've been seeing around. It is a plant that can withstand some dry conditions, and you've been seeing it planted on our flower beds as a flower without those involved knowing that it has some strong medicinal properties. So how do we use this aloe vera? Aloe vera looks like that as you are seeing on the screen. It's also another magic plant that can heal somebody within the shortest time possible. It has some strong antifungal properties that can heal fungal infections very fast. So how are we supposed to administer that magic aloe vera? The first thing that you need to know is that this is a plant that has some strong leaves that once squeezed can emit some mucus-like substance, and that is the one that is rich in antifungal properties. So if it comes to maybe one wants to beautify his or her own bodies, that is the jelly-like substance that you've squeezed from the leaves of aloe vera is the one that you are supposed to apply on the surface of the skin. And if you do so continuously, you will realize that your skin will continue to become more smooth, like the baby skin. So you need not to go to any pharmacy to purchase these artificial beautifying agents when you know very well that whatever outcome you are expecting out of them can equally be gotten from aloe vera. Aloe vera is a very important medicinal plant that we are not supposed to miss in our own gardens. So you may find somebody having some ringworm infection, more especially on his or her head. The gel-like substance that you've squeezed from the aloe vera is supposed to be applied on those affected surfaces. And once you do so, then you will realize that that place will get healed immediately. So those are the only two major medicinal plants that we have spoken about. So what we request you is that in order for us to live smooth lives, let us observe the basic principles of nutrition. In our subsequent bulletins, we are going to divulge more information about what we need to do in order for us to live smooth lives. We couldn't have exhausted everything, but for the few fundamental issues that we've talked about, we assume that they are going to bring a very good positive impact into your own lives. So until we bring you more about this knowledge, stay tuned in this channel. Thank you very much. We wish you the very best, more especially for having shown interest of watching and listening this DVD. So we wish you the very best in whatever that you will be doing, as we look forward to the next volume of DVD that will come out soon, that is going to talk more about some other medicinal plants you've been seeing around.